Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is September 11th, 2024.
What's going on out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. We just got through week one of the 2024 NFL season. Very exciting week as it was. The anticipation is over. We're into this thing now. So we're going to be talking a lot about our power rankings, and I'm going to let Barry explain those to you, and then we'll get into these games.
All right. And we just want to take a minute to remember that today is September 11th and the date of one of the greatest tragedies in American history. So we just want to make a point of remembrance on that. Here we go. The Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, Benny, haven't had to put these numbers together since last, January, February with the Super Bowl?
February.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, here we go. I'll do a quick explanation here for the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. These rankings will apply for week one of the 2024-2025 NFL season. At the top, we have rank team. We have ANP for average net points. We have APF for average points for, that's your scoring. APA for average points against, that's your defensive scoring. And average turnover differential, ATOD. So those are your main categories. Those are the categories that we track specifically. And we consider this sort of the baseline for any analysis, because it's hard to talk about what's getting ready to happen if you haven't really taken account for what just did happen. Excusing Chicago as number 8, it's actually number 9, but since it was tied, it came up tied as number 8, but it's actually in 9th place the way that we did it. Long story short, your rankings is based on your win margin, average win margin, net points. That's points for minus points against. So for New Orleans, for example, you see that they've scored 47 points, but they only gave up 10. That makes their net points 37. That's easy math there. So the first week is a great time to kind of get up to speed on how this is done. Long story short, we have New Orleans, Minnesota, and Tampa Bay in the top 3 at 37, 22, and 17 points, respectively. Dallas, San Fran, and the Chargers bring up 4th, 5th, and 6th place with 16, 13, and 12 points. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place, you have Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Chicago, and New England. Now, I know, Ben, we're going to talk about next week's game with Chicago, but it's hilarious to me that Chicago was in the top 10, where basically all their points were scored on the defense.
Well, not exactly. They kicked like 6 field goals.
Okay, all right, but they had what, a defensive score?
But most of their scoring was driven by their defense. I think.
Okay, driven.
We'll yes. In that respect, you are correct.
So, and then the surprise of all surprises, New England coming in at 10th, tied with Buffalo, Seattle, and Detroit at +6. That's pretty good company there, Benny. Buffalo, Seattle, and Detroit, you know.
Yeah, I would say so.
The step ahead of Philadelphia at +5, Miami at +3, and Houston at +2. So as you can see, those numbers are going down. And any place you have an average like that, you're going to have positive and negative numbers in there. So there you go with that. Now, average points for, that's your scoring. So New Orleans had a scoring day of all days, putting up 47 points. Followed by Tampa Bay. And see, you're going to make me say something nice about Baker Mayfield.
I know you don't want to, but you kind of have to, bro.
Let's not get too carried away. Buffalo and Philly both put up 34 points. Now, you know my magic number is 28, right? And you got to put up at least 28 if you want to be a contender, as far as I'm concerned. So Dallas put up 33. My Niners put up 32. Houston, Green Bay both put up 29. Minnesota and Arizona both put up 28. Indianapolis and Kansas City both put up 27. Detroit, Seattle both put up 26. Chicago put up 24 points in their defensively driven scoring. And those Chargers came in. Again, Harbaugh getting it in. Wait a minute. Now John Harbaugh is the Chargers coach, right?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. Let's get that right. Jim Harbaugh is the Chargers coach, and he outscored his brother in his first week of play. John Harbaugh. I don't see the Ravens up there anyway. No Baltimore in the top 16, top half there. Let's see what's going on the defensive side. Minnesota coming in first place, only giving up 6 points. The Chargers, the Steelers, the Saints, and the Patriots all came in only allowing 10 points. That wraps up the first 5 spots, Benny. I mean, 2 through 5 is like a dog race there. Cincinnati comes in with 16 at 6th place. Then we've got 3 17 places, Dallas, Chicago, and Miami. Atlanta giving up 18 points. My Niners gave up 19 points. So they're just out the side of the top 10 there at 11. Seattle, Detroit, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and Kansas City all round up the top half, giving up 20 points. So there's your scoring leaders in the top half of the league. And lastly, average turnover differential. And turnovers make points. We talk about that all the time. The Chargers in Pittsburgh, my intriguing team, are both leading in the turnover differential categories at +3. We then have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie at +2 average turnover differential. New England, Green Bay, Dallas, New Orleans, Chicago, and my Niners. Then we have a 3-way tie between Houston, Seattle, and Miami at +1. And breaking even in the top 16, you have Tampa Bay, Arizona, Kansas City, and Buffalo. And your New York Football Giants at breaking even at 0. We might have some more on the other side, but let's just wrap this piece up right here, Benny. What do you think?
You know what I want to say? Let's remind everybody again, since it's kind of our first one for the season. Average turnovers means it's that many more turnovers than giveaways, or vice versa, right?
Yeah. If it was vice versa, you'd see a negative.
Right. If we were to go down to the bottom of this list, the second half of the number of teams in the league, you'll start seeing some minus numbers there, meaning that they give the ball away more than they take it away.
Well, here you go. Starting to see some minus numbers again on your average net points and turnover differential. Jacksonville is coming in 17th place at -2. I'm sorry, Indianapolis at -2. Jacksonville at 18th, -3. Green Bay -5. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4-way tie there between Arizona, Denver, the Rams, and Cincinnati at -6. A 2-way tie. There's your Baltimore there at -7, tied with Tennessee at -7. That's not a good place to be tied at. Atlanta -8. The Vegas Raiders -12. Jets -13. Cleveland -16. Washington -17. New York Giants -22, and the Carolina Panthers in 32nd or last place, -37 points. So that means they gave up 37 more points than what they scored. Looking quickly at average points for, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way tie between Washington, Miami, Denver, the Rams, and Baltimore, all giving up 20 points. Scoring 20 points. The Jets came in with 19 points. Pittsburgh, 18, a 3-way tie between Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Cleveland with 17 points. New England at 16, and a 1, 2, 3, 4-way tie between Atlanta, the Raiders, Carolina, and Cincinnati. Cincinnati scoring only 10 points, and your New York Giants in last place at 6. Then we have the defensive side of things. How many points has the defenses given up? Defenses given up. Well, we've got in 17th place your Raiders giving up 22, the Tennessee Titans 24, the Rams and Denver giving up 26, Baltimore and Houston 27. That takes us down through the 22nd place. Two-way tie between the Giants and Buffalo. That takes us down to 24th place. Two-way tie between Philadelphia and Indianapolis. Philly gave up 29 points, man. That ain't the way to get it done. New York Jets, 32 points. Cleveland Browns, 33. Green Bay and Arizona both gave up 34 points. Washington gave up 37. And Carolina, 47 points. Ooh, that's tough, man. All right, lastly, our average turnover differential. I said we would have some more zeros. So you got the Rams, Baltimore, Minnesota, Washington, and Detroit, taking you from 17th through 21st place. We have a three-way tie between Denver, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville, taking you from 22nd to 24. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-way tie between the 25th and the 30th places. So you have -2 points there for Carolina, Cincinnati, Philly. The Philly is -2. I'm hearing them on the radio talking about Jalen Hurts turnovers, but he didn't turn over both of those, I don't think. Jets -2 and Tennessee and Cleveland. And lastly, Atlanta at -3 and Vegas at -3. So those are your rankings, Benny, from 1 through 32 for your net points, points for, points against, and your turnover differential. This is what everybody did in week 1. Anything from you?
No, just week 1. This will be fluid. We'll see a lot of changes early on, I'm sure. By the time we get to mid-season, or maybe a little bit past mid-season, some teams are going to start to settle in the top half, and some teams will begin to settle in the bottom half.
Well, I've reminded some people that we've talked to, and we'll talk about this one particular guy, that we call the first 4 games of the regular season the second preseason. Now, I want to ask you while we're recording, Benny, so we have a record of this. Now that we're at 17 games and only 3 preseason games, when we say the second preseason, you think we should include only the first 3 games or the first 4 games? What do you think?
First 3.
First 3, really? And why? What's your thinking on that?
If it's the second preseason, I want to look at it as a preseason unto itself. So the real preseason only has 3 games. So the second preseason should only have 3 games.
Okay. All right. I asked my barber, he said 4. So I just asking around in general.
Well, here's the thing. It's going to take 4 games for some of these teams to knock off some rust. Some of these quarterbacks that are coming back from injury, some of these quarterbacks that didn't play at all in the preseason by no fault of their own. Probably the coaching staff decided that. There's guys that have been holding out or holding in because of contracts, so they don't have all their timing down. So it could possibly take 4 weeks for some organizations to really be clicking on all cylinders. But I would say after the first 3, you should pretty much kind of have your stuff together.
Okay. All right. We'll make a decision and we'll announce it next week. In terms of, so when we say the second preseason, people will know what we're talking about and when that's about to be over. All right. Fantastic, Manny.